A high-end Luka Donic rookie card was graded a PSA 10, that is, until PSA later found out it was altered and decertified it. But guess what? It was then graded by PSA again. What's going on here? We're gonna break it down next. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. Teapot, Ryan, great to have you on the show. Ryan, nice to have you here.
Super excited to be here.
Getting a good upgrade. Love
That's
it.
right. And I'm super excited about this weekend. Did you know we have John Smoltz coming to Cards HQ as part of Topps Rip Night this weekend? He'll be here Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then we have the Hawks, the future of the Atlanta Hawks, the #1 overall draft pick, Zachary Rizache, will be here as well. He's going to be here later, I think around 5 p.m. on Saturday. By the way, if you can't make it to Cards HQ on Saturday, you can watch all of this go down live. We will be live on the Sports Card Investor channel, this YouTube channel, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time Saturday. It's Trade Night Live. We're doing a special Topps Rip Night edition. We'll have the athletes on the channel. It's going to be a ton of fun. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about this crazy story that has come out involving this Luka Donic card that PSA has now graded 3 times. This card has been altered and they've graded it 3 times. So here's the background on this card. This is a 2018 Contenders Optic Rookie Ticket Auto card. It's card serial number 134 out of 139. That's how you know it's the same card graded, because it's the same serial number, right? PSA originally graded this card at PSA 9. Whoever had it as a PSA 9 apparently thought they could get an upgrade if they cracked the card, cleaned the surface of it, and we know they cleaned the surface because while doing so, they inadvertently faded the autograph. Their cleaning solution got on the autograph and the autograph faded down. They then resubmitted it to PSA and PSA gave it a PSA 10. So the cleaning worked. Despite the autograph fading, the cleaning
because
worked.
the auto wasn't graded.
Well, then the person who did this brags about it on Instagram that they got a PSA 10. The Instagram, the internet detective sleuths out there in the sports card hobby said, wait a minute, that card used to be a PSA 9 with a bold auto because there's photos of it online, and now it's a PSA 10 with a faded auto. Oh, we know what happened here. It was cleaned. PSA saw these social posts and they decertified the card. They regraded the card as altered, and so the card then had the altered designation from PSA. So the person who got the card back from PSA then said, okay, they cracked it. Apparently, whether it was them or there was some change of custody along the way, we aren't sure. The card ended up on Veriswap, supposedly in raw condition, after it had been cracked. Somebody traded for it on Veriswap, and then they submitted it to PSA, not knowing the history of this card having been altered. PSA gets the card, PSA grades the card a PSA 9. And they send it back to the person. The person then posts that to social, and then the internet detectives once again figured this out and figured this is now the same card graded 3 times. And it was actually Neo Cards and Comics, the great YouTube channel that brought this back to the hobby's attention last week when he discovered, based on some social posts, what was going on here. This is amazing, and it's a little bit scary to me. I don't understand how this happened, because I've talked to PSA's leadership before. They've been on the show, and they've talked about how PSA now keeps records of serial numbered cards that they've graded before. And they have a digital fingerprint of every single card they grade, so they can tell if they graded a card before. But if that's the case, how does a card go from a PSA 9 to a PSA 10 to altered back to PSA 9 again? And by the way, it is now once again decertified because PSA has seen the videos and social posts about this. Teapot, how does this happen? What do you make of this situation? And does this type of thing make you lose a little bit of faith in the grading process? Where do you stand with this?
Well, there's 2 things I might lose faith in. One is, I would be asking myself a question. Why is a rookie Luka auto raw? Why is it raw? And if it is raw, there might be something funny going on. Either the condition just isn't good on the card, or there's something like this going on. So that's the first pause. And I think Neo brought that up in his video. It was my first thought about this whole thing, is like, I'm always just wary of a top tier player 5, 6, 7 years into the league, and suddenly there's this raw, like, high dollar card. It's like something's funky here, right?
And before you go on with your point, that is such a good point.
Yeah.
This is something that I tell my sons all the time, because they are constantly seeing listings on eBay or on Veriswap or wherever, where it's some really high dollar card that's raw, that's older, and that's being sold for a suspiciously low price, and they think they found the deal of the century, and they show it to me, and I'm instantly like, Spidey sense is going off, something's wrong here. This is either a fake, or it's been altered and decertified, or there's some major damage to it that's not showing up in the photo, or the auto's fake. Something's wrong. So yes, you have to be wary. That's a great point.
Yeah, and so for me, actually, I care more about authentication than I do the assessment of the condition that the grading company does. Like, to me, the authentication, knowing that it's a real card and that it hasn't been altered, supersedes the condition of the card and, you know, what might potentially be some like nearly invisible surface flaw that brings it down in grade. I want to know the card is real more than anything and hasn't been messed with. So that's really important, and this does call that process into question. As you said, they claim they have this whole, you know, fingerprint of the card and all. They're storing the serial numbers. When they first announced that a couple years ago, there were people saying, yes, this happened to me. I tried sending a card back in, or I sent one that I bought raw, and they told me it had already been graded, and, you know, they wouldn't regrade it, or they put it back in a 9 or whatever. Then there were a lot of other people saying that, no, I'm still cracking and resubmitting all the time, and I haven't run into this one time. So to me, it just seems like the process overall has some room for improvement, and it is concerning. The one thing I'd be curious about, I think this should be protected by PSA's guarantee. So if the person on the other end of this that resubmitted it, and especially if they can demonstrate the provenance at least having come through Veriswap and what that was valued at in that process, I think this is a scenario where then PSA has to say, we're covering some kind of a gap or deficiency in what that costs you. But have you had a chance to talk to Nat or Ryan at all about this?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Just saw
I'd be
this
curious,
story.
you know, to know what they say. Usually they're pretty responsive on this type of stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, it is a weird situation. And look, PSA grades. Last year they graded, well, what was the number? 14 million cards or something?
15 million.
15 million cards, right? So I mean, think about that. They're grading over 1 million cards a month.
That's right.
Mistakes are bound to happen. Things are bound to slip through the cracks. I'm a little surprised on this one because it was kind of high profile on social media.
Right.
But when you're grading over 1 million cards a month, stuff is always going to occur. You're never going to be 100% accurate. You just hope to be 99.9%. And I think PSA, I mean, PSA for the most part is pretty great.
This would have to go through a certain service level, right? So like that's what you would expect, a little more care and, you know, I don't know.
What did you think, Ryan, when you saw this story?
Yeah, I think the owner was too deep in the internet. He might not have been cleaning the card. He might have thought it was Luka's mom who signed it. So he was wiping it off. He was going to go to the game, get it re-signed maybe.
He was going to get it signed in kanji.
Maybe that's what he was doing. Get the kanji signature like that guy did with the Otani auto.
But yeah, with PSA, I mean, I still trust them. Like you said, they're grading millions of cards. They did mention, you know, they've acquired that company that identifies them, you know, to a T.
Yeah.
For that, maybe it's not in place yet. Maybe that's a good question for Nat. But still, to this date, my recommendation is when you buy a PSA certi card, just look up the cert number before you buy it. See if it's deactivated. If it's deactivated, it could be stolen. It could be altered. They could have caught something after the fact.
Yeah.
But still, to this date.
Which they do, yeah. And in this case, that's the case, right? So I actually took the latest PSA 9 copy of the card, and I typed in the cert number this morning into PSA's checker, and it now pops up that it was decertified. Where a week ago, it was popping up saying it was a PSA 9. Right as this stuff was starting to come out on social media, right when Neo's video hit, it was showing it as a PSA 9. They obviously saw that and decertified it. So that's a good point. Whenever you're doing any type of high dollar card transaction for a PSA slab, you know, 999 times out of 1,000, everything's fine. But to catch that 1 out of 1,000 thing, just type in the PSA cert number and make sure it pops up and it is the right card and it is legitimate and it is great and all those types of things. Yeah.
This does make you think. I mean, maybe it's a question for a different day, but do you trust pop reports? I mean, how many times has this card been graded? 3 now?
Yeah. Oh, there are some crazy examples of, I think Luka's Gold. In fact, I think Luka's Gold 2018 Prizm Gold, if I recall, has a PSA pop of over 10. I think the PSA pop is like 13 on the PSA pop report.
And BGS is probably like 2 or 3 too.
Which is obviously 100% impossible because only 10 of the card were ever created, but that's because someone gets a PSA 9, crack, resubmit, hope for the 10, comes back in 9, crack, resubmit, and now it's on the pop report 3 different times. So
I do think you can turn in the labels and they take it off.
You can.
Yep,
so you can, but
a lot of people don't do that. There was a 90s insert, I can't remember which one, it might have been Ultra Stars Gold or one of them. The internet pack odds experts and everything they said there were maybe like 60 or 70 total in existence. And you look at like every player from the checklist and they're all graded, like universal pop report across Beckett, SGC, BGS, or PSA, and most players would have like 30 or 40 total graded. And then you look at Michael Jordan, and it's like 103. You're like, there weren't double as many Jordans as there were other players, so that's the exact case of people going, well, send it to BGS, no, and I'll go to PSA, now I'm gonna go back to BGS. It's just a little freaky.
Yeah, it definitely happens. All right, well, it's not just PSA that's having some quality control trouble right now. I want to talk about what's going on with Prizm football as well. That's crazy. But first, I want to let the audience know about Arena Club and their brand new slab pack drop that is taking place tomorrow. They have upgraded these slab packs. They have their new Diamond Multi-Sport slab pack, which you got the opportunity now for 2018 Shohei Ohtani Topps Chrome Rookie Gold Auto PSA 10 in one of those Diamond Multi-Sport packs. They've also now introduced a Diamond Pokemon pack. They also have Emerald level packs. The Emerald Baseball pack has a Juan Soto Bowman Chrome Prospect Auto Gold Refractor as a potential that you could pull from it. In the Emerald Football, they've got a Tom Brady National Treasures Veteran Signatures. That's a beautiful card. And in the Emerald Basketball, that Luka Panini Select Zebra Prizm PSA 10. Those are all there for you to potentially pull, and to get in on that action, go to Arena Club's website or download the Arena Club app. These slab packs will all drop at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow, Friday. Here's the best part. Promo code SCI20 is going to get you 20% off your first purchase at Arena Club. So use that promo code SCI20, save 20% on one of these slab packs when they drop tomorrow. Okay, I mentioned quality control with PSA. Let's talk about quality control with the new Prizm football. 2024 Prizm football came out about 2 months ago, I think at this point is when it started to hit store shelves, maybe a little bit under that. And so we've seen a good amount of it now go through grading. And the results aren't great.
Yeah.
So there's been a total, according to GemRate, there's been a total of 1,726 Jaden Daniels cards that have been fully graded by PSA at this point. Of those, 474 have achieved a PSA 10. That is a GemRate of 27.5%, which is pretty darn low for any ultra-modern set.
Brutal.
It's actually worse with some of the other quarterbacks. The GemRate on Bo Nix's rookie cards is 25.1%. The GemRate on J.J. McCarthy, 27.2%. Michael Penix Jr., 28%. And Drake May, 32%. And unfortunately, I have no data on Caleb Williams, Ryan. So I can't help you there. Ryan's a big Caleb Williams fan.
Nobody cares about that anymore.
I'm sure he's coming a little bit higher, so you didn't want to mention it.
I have no data, but I'm sure it is not great because the overall GemRate is just 25% on these Prizm football cards. I've seen a lot of videos on social of people opening up various formats of the boxes and complaining about the centering, complaining about the overall quality issues, various issues with the cards.
Well, the first thing I want to point out is last week, I believe it was, we talked about the reduction in GemRate to PSA's overall numbers that GemRate gave us, and the suspicion was, they changed their centering standard and now they're grading harder and 10s are less common. I think it's more to do with this, with the fact that certain products are coming out and they're getting terrible QC, and then so if you look in a 2, 3, 4, 5 month window, you're seeing lower GemRates overall because Prizm is one of the biggest products that these companies send in. We've seen this before. And like one of the cards that came to mind is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as an example. His Prizm base card, and just the base, not the parallels, like were notoriously off-center, like the logo was messed up. So he had a 28.5% GemRate on his base card. But to see that an entire product is very concerning. I looked at Market Movers at our intelligence reports tool, and I was able to compare PSA 10 and PSA 9 and then PSA 9 to raw, and I looked at it for Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, and Brock Purdy, so each of the last 3 years. It does appear to have pretty significantly impacted the prices. Jaden Daniels is nearly 6x on his 10 versus his 9 right now. Stroud is 2.5x, and Brock Purdy, who has a very high gem rate, I think it's like a 65% gem rate, is only 2.1x on the 10 to 9. 9s to raw, Daniels is at 2x, Purdy is 1.6, Stroud 1.3. So I think it's very frustrating if you're going to spend $1,200 on a premium product and you're going to already do that and commit to that and make this big chase, and then to pull the cards out and have the quality not be there. I can't think of another thing in my life, in the world, that exists where you pay that much money for something and then it's somehow acceptable to pull out the product and have it be like damaged or something. You know, if you were to go buy a new set of sneakers or some other thing, I don't know. I like,
especially with the price.
That's what I mean. Like if you spend four figures on a product, you know, or if you were to go to a Michelin star restaurant and spend $1,000 on dinner and you say, this just was terrible, they're going to like comp it. You know, they're going to like take care of you and make sure you have a really good experience. So that's the biggest frustrating part. And like you said, it's the year 2025. We got quantum computing chips out and cards are still off center and have other condition issues. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know. I went to a few Falcons games last season where the product definitely didn't match what was advertised. I blew money on that as well. I would have liked some money back for my tickets. Watching us score, 13 points against the Bears.
Shouldn't have gotten rid of Desmond Ridder.
To open the season. I know. Anyway, what do you think about this, Ryan? Could this, it's interesting, the price differences now, you know, that spread with the PSA 10. I was kind of wondering, does this even make, I mean, it probably does make the PSA 10s that much more valuable. It doesn't even make PSA 9s more valuable. Like, does this start to shift the landscape with what people look for with grading results a little bit?
Yeah, I'm seeing at shows right now, people are asking 4x for 10s, which it traditionally could happen with older cards, but you haven't really seen that with like modern sets. But now PSA 9s, people are saying 1.5, 2x. Well, that's traditionally a 10 nowadays for modern.
Yeah.
I think maybe Panini's just out the door. They're just trying to pump out the product. It'd be interesting, today is 2024 Topps Chrome release date. It'd be interesting to come back in like 3 months. What's that gem rate?
Yeah.
Will Fanatics have a better rate? I mean, I'm going to open it after work, chase Caleb Williams, see what the quality is there. But like Prizm, when you open it, there's dimples, the back corners are white. It's embarrassing for the hobby.
Yeah, it's a shame. It is such a key set, and this year really, I mean, man, they really had it lined up with all of these great rookies. I mean, you have 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round, and people are still excited about all 6 of them, coming out of this season, heading into next season. Like, the gem rate, I wish it was a little bit better on this set, but I mean, I guess if you're one of the lucky ones to get a PSA 10, makes your cards even more valuable. So you get the extra little premium for not only pulling the Jaden Daniels, but getting the, well-centered with no dimples Jaden Daniels as well. So
well, it's interesting that it's as low as 25% as well, because the Color Blast gem rate is 80%.
Yeah.
So that's pulling up the number there too. Granted, those are case hits and rare, but still.
Interesting.
I mean, those have white borders, a little bit easier to grade, but.
All right.
We got some that percentage.
We got some Topps news I want to talk about. I also, by the way, want to mention, I talked earlier in the show about that Cards HQ Topps Rip Night we're having with John Smoltz, and if you're going to watch it, whether you come into the shop or whether you watch that from home, we're actually going to have some giveaways during that, so make sure to tune in. We got some very special giveaways. Veriswap is going to be giving away a special card during that for everybody watching from home. So once again, Saturday, 1 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, tune into this Sports Card Investor channel. Let's talk about Topps actually listening to collectors and reversing course on a major product decision. So this happened recently. Topps Series 1 Baseball recently came out in shops. We've got a lot of it here in Cards HQ. Came out last week. And a lot of collectors were very upset because it was missing the iconic black parallel. The black parallel has been part of Topps Series 1 for a long time. And for whatever reason, Topps decided going into this year's release that they were going to eliminate the black parallel and they were going to replace it with a black foil board numbered to 10. So much different numbering, different look to the parallel, and the traditional black parallel is gone. Well, there were many traditionalist baseball collectors who collect a lot of Series 1 who love the black parallels, and in some cases have collected the black parallels for many years, have built sets of all the black parallels, and they were pretty mad and pretty vocal that this happened. So Mike Mahan, the president of Fanatics Collect, which owns Topps and oversees Topps, Collectibles, I should say, the president of Fanatics Collectibles, CEO of Fanatics Collectibles, got to get that right. Get all the details right. The CEO of Fanatics Collectibles, Mike Mahan, went onto the Blabbin' 'Bout Slabbin' podcast, great name there, by the way, and he announced that Topps was reversing course. They were bringing the black parallel back.
Yep.
They were going to put it in Series 2, which comes out later this year. And because they didn't have it in Series 1, they're going to take all the Series 1 cards and put their black parallels in Series 2 as well. So anybody who has built sets of these over the years and wants to continue that tradition will still have the full opportunity to do so. Teapot, I know you're a big baseball collector. I know you're into the minutia of these parallels and Series 1 and being flagship, all this stuff. Were you swinging from the chandeliers with excitement the moment this news came down?
Yeah, I ran down. I gave my wife a big hug. She's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "We did it. We did it. We got the blacks back in the Series 1." This was very encouraging. When the checklist first came out, what kind of happened was we had a little bit of a checklist shock, but we've had this in years past where Topps like teased out something and then they didn't actually have all the details straight. And so in prior years, I believe it was like the clears and also maybe the blacks that they said weren't there, but then they were really there. So this year we were like, I'm sure they're in the product. I'm sure the blacks and the clears are still in the product. You can't get rid of those. And so we broke down the whole checklist on Spitballing Cards, and Jeff and Chris, who do Blabbin' About Slabbin', were like, what if we really don't have these? Like, this would be a major blow to Series 1, to flagship Topps. Well, it turns out we really didn't have them. And they got the community of this, passionate corner of the hobby who like to collect those cards. And it's a group of people who I really say, like, they look for the stuff that's iconic and has lineage. And they want the consistency year over year. And so in the midst of all the tumult of Fanatics taking over Topps and saying, we're going to change a lot of things, but hopefully for the better long term, you can see and appreciate that they're trying to create standardization as well as like predictability between paper and chrome and do some of these things. But it was just a head scratcher. It was like, why did you need to get rid of that one? You could have gotten rid of camo and kept black, just in order of a hierarchy. So they sort of started this movement, and to have Mike actually listen, to know that Topps actually listened, to me was very, very encouraging. And we've talked about Nat Turner in the past. I've always been impressed with like his accessibility. People will like DM him on Instagram and he responds just like anybody. They take critiques, they take feedback, they do an interview with somebody, they say, hey, look, we're listening, we're gonna be better. And I think that's a really important approach to take, whether it's those guys or us or market movers or other things. We try to take that feedback. I have an AMA tonight where I like getting that feedback from people about our products. So overall, I just loved it. I love that they came back. He said they're back forever. We heard the feedback. We're going to keep trying to understand what's most important to this diehard collector base when we, are looking to make changes. And I thought it was great.
Yeah, it seems like a good example of listening to the people. Is that how it struck you, Ryan?
Yeah, but I'm still a little upset. They took away the Mother's Day and Father's Day parallels away.
They did.
Those need to come back too.
They
Those
did.
are some of my favorite. Back at the 2021 National, I bought my Otani at that time.
Yeah, the 2018.
I graded a 7. The corners are white. The border's hard to grade, but I'm going to miss those. But as long as they don't take a vintage stock away, that's definitely my favorite.
They
parallel.
improved vintage stock this year. They improved it. It looks awesome.
Yeah, but it's good that Topps is listening to the consumers. I know even Mike asked us what we think of hobby shop owners, like what could we do better for you guys, and hopefully they take that with stride with the feedback we gave them.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to start a petition to get the collector community all riled up about the lack of Mother's Day parallels.
I don't know.
Maybe we can have Mike Mahan on our show on Mother's Day, and maybe he'll announce those are going to come back as well. Make Ryan and make Ryan's mom happy.
They could
there.
put them into the seasonal, packs like they're doing now with the spring Easter and all that stuff.
Oh
Who
yeah,
knows?
the egg parallels.
No, I want them in hobby.
The umbrella to 10.
The umbrella to 10. The what is it? The watering can.
The watering
The
can.
watering can.
Yeah, the hot dog.
Got to get the watering can parallel. Got to collect that one. All right, I want to end on this topic. Another kind of interesting story from this past week. Rick Probstein, big time seller on eBay. In fact, the #1 seller on eBay. People know Probstein123. A consignment service on eBay, huge in the sports card world. I've used them in the past. I've sent my cards to Rick and his team do a good job of consigning those. $850 million in lifetime eBay sales. It's a big number. That's run through Probstein and his company. Well, they have decided to launch their own auction and live commerce platform. This platform is going to be called Bid, spelled B-Y-D. I like the name. I think that's creative. It's going to be live selling. It's going to really be competing against Whatnot and eBay Live. And he says there's going to be some core differences to his platform. He's going to have curated live shows like Wemby Wednesdays and T206 Tuesdays. He also is going to allow people to search in advance of the show to see what's going to be sold during the show. And that is a difference between how like Whatnot works today, where that's not really organized in that manner. So I could see that having some interest to it. He thinks that he wants it to be very entertaining, very engaging. He is going to continue to sell on eBay, but he will also be competing against eBay when it comes to this platform in a sense, right? And he's going to try to recruit other major live sellers from platforms like Whatnot and Fanatics to join Bid. What do you think, Teapot? Does this have a chance? Does the hobby need another live streaming selling service? And if so, is Rick Probstein the one to pull it off?
It's kind of frustrating that there's so much struggle now to find the card you're looking for because there's so many different places that stuff's always popping up on. So my initial reaction to that is just, oh shoot, there's like another place now that I have to try to figure out how to look to see if they've got the card that I want. A few years ago, PWCC, when they were still the biggest seller on eBay, I think at that time, they started running auctions on their own website. And then we had all the drama unfold where eBay said, look, we know you've been, we're saying you've been shill bidding your own listings on eBay. They completely gave them the boot. PWCC contested that. Then they spun up their own thing, in accelerated fashion. Ultimately, they got bought out by Fanatics Collect. So that kind of worked, but it kind of didn't. But now it's Fanatics Collect. Burbank Sports had the big announcement a few months ago that they were moving, I think they said they were moving off of eBay. They're still on eBay. They still have 1.5 million cards listed on eBay, but they moved over to join forces with Fanatics Collect. So it seems like eBay's had a lot of these big selling accounts over the last 5-6 years sort of saying, look, I kind of believe in myself. I kind of believe in my organization. And I think maybe I'm leaving something on the table by running it all through this, even though we know if you do a certain volume, you get very good fee rates knocked down because of the volume you sell through. So whether or not this will work out for Rick, I don't know. He's taking a chance, and it'll be interesting to see how eBay views this. Does eBay say, well, we're not going to give you the same fee rates that we've historically given you if you're going to go like steal share over here? I don't know. Typically, competition breeds, improvements overall to the way things go. So I'm optimistic in that sense. I'll be curious to see how his platform looks, but there are a lot of different places that people are feeling like they need to get pulled to. And at a point, you reach sort of like this change fatigue that you're like, even if that thing's better over there, I'm just going to stay over here where I've gotten used to it, whether that's Whatnot or Fanatics Collect or eBay or whatever that thing might be. But, we'll see. Good luck to him.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan? You excited for this, or is this kind of like, it's just another platform?
I'm definitely excited to check it out, but I do think we're oversaturated in the live selling market with Whatnot, TikTok, Fanatics Live, Loop. You can keep going.
eBay Live.
eBay Live. I mean,
Drip.
Yeah.
Network.
And I can't even
keep going.
I can't even imagine how many employees we'll need for this to upload every single card that's going to go live. I respect him for that. I mean, we could do that on Whatnot, but we don't because we have so many live shows a day that it'd be such a challenge. So if he's going to upload all those cards that way, good luck.
Yeah, it does seem like it would take more prep work to get ready for the shows the way he's designed it. I think it's interesting. I like Rick Probstein. I've had a good relationship with him. He's been on our shows a number of times before. I think he's extremely knowledgeable about the hobby. I think he's got a great viewpoint about everything. And you can't argue with the sales numbers he's done on eBay. That's an incredible amount of volume. He's known as one of the best consignors there is out there. I also think he's got a big uphill battle on his hands. I really do. And I think he's up against Whatnot with unbelievably deep pockets. Their valuation is in the billions of dollars. They've got unbelievable amounts of money, for promotion and advertising and marketing and everything like that. Fanatics Live, obviously, they're backed by Fanatics, a multi-billion-dollar company. They've got money for, promotion and advertising. It is hard to win, and he's up against eBay Live now too, right? It is hard to win market share. You said something I think is very true, Teapot. You can sometimes build a better mousetrap, but people won't go to it just because they're used to what they already have and they're comfortable. And we've seen innovation in the sports card hobby around, for example, we've seen apps pop up that are like, hey, we're going to be a better version of a sports card community app. And so everybody over on Instagram, which has its limitations for cards, hey, come over to our app and we're going to have this great community and, you know, everything like that. And they may have developed a better feature set that's more better for collectors, but it's real hard to get people off Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and unfortunately one of them folded recently. One of these apps that I'm talking about folded recently. Not because their idea wasn't good and their technology wasn't good, they just couldn't change user behavior.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the problem Rick's gonna have here. So this is, I hope he's successful. I do. I think it's, as Ryan said, I think it's gonna be really cool to check out. I also think it's a big time uphill battle.
Yeah.
So good luck to him. We'll see how it plays out, but I'm excited to check it out for sure. All right, guys, hopefully you guys have been excited by today's show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe. And don't forget the Arena Club drop tomorrow. Promo code SCI20. Download that Arena Club app and use promo code SCI20 for 20% off the slab packs. And don't forget, Saturday, 1 to 6 p.m., Trade Night Live and Top Strip Night here at Cards HQ. We'll see you then. Take care. Good night.